Okay, welcome back to the Snap. Michael Heaver here today, alongside, of course, my co-host Patrick O'Flynn. And Patrick, lots to talk about. Even more chaos now in Keir Starmer's leadership ranks. What on earth is going on?
Well, it's being reported this morning that Keir Starmer has moved his chief aide, Jenny Chapman, Baroness Chapman, out of that position in his office. So she becomes the third person in about 4 days to be cleared out of his office. The interesting thing here is it's said that Keir Starmer has appointed her to the shadow cabinet as Labour Brexit spokeswoman. Now, Jenny Chapman was his deputy when he was Brexit spokesman and was the person who helped him hatch the plan to switch Labour's policy to supporting a second referendum to overturn Brexit. She lost her own seat at the general election, a red wall seat up in the northeast of England. And so what does this say to pro-Brexit voters about what Labour has learned since December 2019? They've just let the Brexit blocking Common Speaker, ex-Speaker, into Labour. And now the Brexit blocking Labour Party leader has appointed his Brexit blocking aide, who's a red wall reject, to take over Labour's Brexit policy. This party has learnt nothing.
And what on earth is going on here, Patrick? Because, obviously we've talked before about that disastrous set of election results, including, of course, Hartlepool. We're coming up to the Batley and Spent by-election, which, even Labour supporters, Corbynistas at least, are saying if Labour were to lose that constituency, then Starmer would have to go. And yet, amid what is a crucial time for Keir Starmer's leadership, he's not really doing anything that I've seen in terms of fighting for that job to stay in that role. And just there seems to be complete and utter disarray among his team internally. What on earth do you think is going on inside the Labour Party right now?
I think we've reached the tipping point. I think more and more people inside the Labour Party, particularly at Westminster, have realised that the guy isn't going to last. It's like, when you, as a kid, you build those sandcastle walls on the beach and the tide comes in. And then there's a moment when, a big chunk falls out and it all collapses. I think we're seeing that now with the Labour Party. I think people are distancing themselves from Keir Starmer. People like Angela Rayner being seen with Jeremy Corbyn, sending out signals, leadership camps starting to form. I think the view is switching very quickly to Labour's going to lose Batley and Spence so badly that there is a really big chance now of Keir Starmer being ousted before the end of the year.
Now, when we turn to the national polls, the latest YouGov poll, again, absolutely appalling for the Labour Party. And again, this is one of the things that gets me is that, again, since that last set of elections, we saw sort of Starmer lash out a bit, didn't we? Saying that he'd heard and Labour needed to do more. Well, to me, it seems they've done absolutely naffle since then. And the latest YouGov poll has the Tories increasing their lead by 1 point. They're on 45, 14 points ahead of the Labour, who are on 31. And really interestingly, and this is a theme we've seen time and time again recently, is that when you look at the working class in this poll, working class voters, the Conservatives, 49%, Labour, 28%. That means the Conservatives have a 21-point lead with working class voters over the Labour Party. And I repeat it again, what has Keir Starmer's Labour Party done since that last set of disastrous set of elections for them to get a single person to switch back to them? I really find this whole behaviour that we've seen from Labour either incredibly complacent or they've just given up.
Yeah, I think Keir Starmer is complacent. I think the last big job he had, Director of Public Prosecutions, the job was to win the approval of an elite, the legal establishment. And I think he's approached Labour Party leader in the same way. But in fact, being a party leader, your audience is the people. You live by opinion polls and then election results. He's not adjusted to that, and it's too late to adjust to that now. And we see today a report come out from the Education Select Committee, for instance, highlighting the disadvantages to white working class pupils and the damage to their morale and the services they get because of this theory from the left of so-called white privilege. And what do you get from Labour? You get the normal people piling in fury. And the message that goes out to the white working class is that this party is against you. And on the eve of a by-election in Batley and Spen, I think that's only going to lead one way, and it's going to be a severe defeat for Labour, and that will leave Labour as the only parliamentary party with nothing going for it, with no feather in its cap. If you're the Tories, you'll be winning Batley and Spen on the back of Hartlepool. If you're the Lib Dems, you've won Chesham and Amersham. If you're the Greens, then you've had some good polling, you've had some council advance. If you're the SNP, you think you're closing in on a second referendum in Scotland. Labour, nothing. The dud party, the unsuccessful party. That's why the guy, as we've been saying for a while, is in deep, deep doo-doo. The commentariat will wake up to this. He's on his way out.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. Now, just flagging something else within this latest YouGov poll, Patrick, because I saw that you tweeted out about the Reform UK showing in this. So it has the Lib Dems, despite, by the way, all of the media coverage that you've seen surround the Lib Dems after what was, of course, a sensational by-election victory, but they're still only on 6% nationally in the YouGov poll, which is pretty pitiful, I think. The Greens ahead of them just on 7%, but you've also got Reform UK up slightly on 4%. So if you put it in the context of all of that media coverage that you had coming out of the latest by-election with the Lib Dems, they're on 6%, and Reform UK just behind now on 4%. What do you make of that, Patrick?
Well, I think that Reform UK will take heart from that. I mean, on the one hand, yes, 4% still a very low score, but, you know, there are dozens of political parties out there who would love to get even mentioned in the national opinion poll share. I think Reform UK were up again in another poll out yesterday too. So I think there's something going on. It's not huge, but I think there is a bit of a backlash among certain sections of voters about the delay to the final leg of opening up post-COVID restrictions, and that's helped them. There might now be a bit of traction on Richard Tice's idea of stressing economic policy and particularly tax cuts as his preferred kind of number one policy. It's not really caught fire yet, but I think people are now talking about, could there be inflation being stored up, and he might get some kind of a run out of his economic theories. He still, I think, is missing a trick on not really going for the cross-channel migrant shambles as his major attack point. But there's something there for Reform UK. They'll be hopeful after some pretty dismal results of late.
Well, look, it's going to be really interesting to see, I think, over the next few weeks what happens inside the Labour Party. Will Keir Starmer face a leadership challenge? Will they get trounced at the Batley and Spen by-election? We'll have to wait and see. But as ever, guys, make sure you hit subscribe and the bell so you don't miss the next edition of The Snap, and we will be back soon.
It's lively. It's getting interesting. See you soon.